Hi, it's Mimi from Giggly Guppy. Today I'm going to be reading three more stories from Unlikely Friendships by Jennifer S. Holland. Today, the three stories are kind of heavy on the monkeys. Two of the three stories are about monkeys, and one of them is the cover story. I don't know if you heard that bell ringing. That is the marvelous Mr. Mittens playing with his toy. All right. So, our first story took place in China in 2007, and it's called The Macaque and the Dove. The monkey is the macaque, and the dove. Off the southern coast of China, on an island nestled in the Pearl River estuary of Guangdong Province, the rhesus monkey is king. Several hundred rhesus macaques, as they're also known, are legally protected along with pangolins and pythons in the Neelingden Island Fushan National Nature Reserve, a 2,000-acre wildlife haven lush with mangrove forest. It was there that one of those monkeys made an unexpected feathered friend. According to Luo Hang, who leads the animal protection station on the mountainous isle, one day in September 2007, a white dove landed on the ground near the station and lingered. It seemed to have lost its mate. White doves are often seen as symbols of peace and long life, and Luo and his staff welcomed the animal into their midst. They adopted the bird, which they thought was about 3 years old, feeding it corn kernels and keeping it in an iron cage at the station. The bird had a metal band around its leg, so Luo assumed it was part of a bird migration study and should be released at the change of seasons. While patrolling the island, which is famous not only for its nature park, but for having greeted the first known European flagged boat to China in 1513, one of the reserve staff came across a baby macaque. It was alone, distressed, and very weak. Not more than 3 months old, it was far too young to survive on its own in the forest and extremely vulnerable to pythons and other predators. The reserve staff took the little animal, wide-eyed and clingy, back to the station where it quickly met and hit it off with the feathered visitor already in residence. See you back there. Oh my gosh, I hope it's not too loud. For 2 months, the macaque and the dove shared a space and delighted the staff and visitors. They snacked on corn. The monkey turned pieces over in his little hands as he nibbled. The bird pecked on fallen bits behind him. The monkey chattered, the dove cooed, and at night they slept in the cage together, each the other's pillow and blanket. Luo Hang says, the monkey was sometimes naughty, excuse me, and seemed to make fun of the dove, but he showed affection too. If only the dove had hands to hug him back. It was a joyful scene, and people came from everywhere to see the way the odd couple lived together and looked after each other. But the staff knew both animals would be better off in the wild, and so they prepared to set them free. The dove was released first, and off it flew. Luo then returned to the place where the macaque first was found, and he was pleased to find the monkey's family once again in its territory. The baby rejoined the troop without a hitch. With both monkey and bird back in their natural environments, one can only wonder if they will cross paths in the future. If they do, will there be a gesture of recognition? So that's the only picture for the story, but again, it's the same as the cover of the book. The second story is from Indonesia in 2010, and it's called The Macaque and the Kitten. The Kitten has an interesting expression on its face. There is a sacred forest in the town of Ubud on the Indonesian island of Bali where monkeys roam freely over the stones of a Hindu temple built centuries ago. The primates are long-tailed macaques, and many local villagers believe they guard the religious site against evil spirits. One macaque recently brought its protective instinct to a more secular task, safeguarding a scrappy kitten that had strayed into arm's reach. With more than 300 macaques in 4 separate troops, territorial groups, living in a relatively small area, it's not surprising that they occasionally meet other animals pawing across the temple grounds. But to form a bond like the one that this particular macaque formed with this particular kitten seemed extraordinary to the people who witnessed it. The macaque is holding the cat like a baby. That's so cute. Anne Young, who was on vacation and visiting the sacred monkey forest during the time, was one of these witnesses. The pair had been together a few days, and whenever the park staff tried to capture the kitten, it would just run back to the monkey, Anne says. The macaque, a young male, would groom his feline friend, hug and nuzzle it, and even lay his head on the kitten's head as if it were a pillow. Although this species of monkey is quite social and often lives without fear and close contact with people, this one wanted to keep his pet kitty to himself. He became wary of all the primates around him, and if other macaques or people got too close, he would try to hide his prize, once even using a bit of leaf to cover it, or climb higher or move deeper into the forest with the kitten in his arms. The kitten, meanwhile, had plenty of opportunities to escape the macaque's clutches, but it made no attempt whatsoever, Anne says. It seemed content to be carried around in the bigger animal's embrace. Long-tailed macaques live in a strict social hierarchy in which males must prove themselves worthy of female attention, and this troop was no exception. Oh my gosh. That kitten is all snuggled in there. Hello, Mr. Mittens. Oh, the macaque and the kitten. Oh my gosh. So sweet. The kitten petting male was not an alpha male or leader among his own kind and was probably not getting a lot of affection from the other macaques. And he certainly wasn't getting much affection from humans either, as macaques have become something of a nuisance in Ubud, where they wander into rice fields or villages outside of the forest boundaries and wreak havoc on private property. The kitten appeared to be traveling solo as well, and may also have been craving some attention and companionship. Fortunately for both unmated primate and homeless feline, they found what they needed in each other among the temple ruins in Ubud. He's just having a wonderful time. Okay, we have one last story from 2010 in Florida in the United States. This is the Mouflon and the Eland. Unless you're up on your ungulates, which most of us aren't, you might not know exactly what a Mouflon is. Excuse me. It sounds like a hairdo. And an Eland? Anyone? Have you ever heard of those before? Turns out a mouflon is the smallest of the wild horned sheep. It hides away in steep mountainous woodlands in places like Iraq and Iran. The mammal was introduced to various Mediterranean islands and to continental Europe long ago, and more recently to ranches in the United States for hunting. Then there's the eland, an antelope that hoofs across America's open plains. I'm going to show you what they look like. The plant eater hangs out with sometimes hundreds of its buddies, though it doesn't seem to establish close ties in the wild and often leaves one herd for another. But when a male mouflon meets a female eland more than 15 years ago, let me start that over again. But when a male mouflon met a female eland more than 15 years ago at the Lion Country Safari Park in Palm Beach County, Florida, a close tie was inevitable. It was the beginning of an ongoing boy meets girl love story, says the park's wildlife director, Terry Wolf. That is, if you believe animals can love and not just lust. Okay. The mouflon is an old male that was a hoofed Casanova in his younger days with many mates of his own kind, but living among the eland, what is a lonely male sheep to do? He follows this one female eland passionately, Terry says. When she stops to graze, he will gently paw at her rear leg with his front foot as if trying to coax her to come down to his level. After all, he is quite a bit shorter than she. Then, when she lies down, the sheep acts the gentleman, lying quietly next to her. Only the one eland has grabbed the sheep's attention. He never bothers with the other females. People think that the affair is cute, Terry says, but obviously it will go nowhere. And with the mouflon already beyond his expected lifespan of 20 years, he no longer keeps up with his girlfriend as he once did, making his advances even less effective. The eland, for her part, can be aloof, standing around chewing her cud, back turned to her suitor, but she seems content enough to be admired. I think the mouflon is just happy she tolerates him, Terry said. But most important to us, she keeps him mobile, which is why he's still around. It's a lovely picture. Well, I don't know if that was terrible and way too loud or if that was okay and kind of funny. So please let me know in the comments how that was. Just so you know, I did try to play or engage Mittens in playing with that toy before I started filming, and he didn't want any part of it. Oh my gosh, I love Mr. Mittens, the marvelous Mr. Mittens. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again when we continue to read happy animal stories to make you smile.